Everybody, I've just released a new version of nbchkr, which is a project I've been working on for a little while, and people are starting to want to use it. This is a tool for doing auto-checking of notebook assignments. And so in this video, I'm going to go through the tutorial and demo how you can use nbchkr to write, release, and check programming assignments written in Jupyter notebooks. So if you want to know why should I use this, or why should I use automated checking, the documentation for nbchkr has quite a lot of good information and some good resources on the pedagogic rationale for doing automated checking of notebooks. My big kind of personal way of thinking about this since using automated checking for a while. I use it for a first-year programming class with about 200 students, and I use it for a final year game theory class with about 100 students, is not that it replaces checking of work. It allows me to do it more efficiently and to have more meaningful discussions with students. So with that in mind, how do we actually use it? So the first thing we're going to do is install nbchkr. So I'm going to pip install nbchkr there. Let me move my face out of the way. Oh, I spelled it wrong. This is a good start. Cool. And so now once we've got that running, I'm going to go ahead and start a Jupyter notebook server. Oops. Like so. My fat head's in the way again. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. Alrighty. And so what I can do is now I can create a new notebook. And so we're going to write one master notebook or one main notebook. And this main notebook is going to be used to create an assignment that we send to students. Students are going to fill in their assignments, and there'll be their submissions. And then as well as that, we can also release solutions. So let's go ahead and start this. I'm going to call this main. And the first thing we're going to do is write some text for our questions. So I'm going to change this to a markdown cell, and here I'd write programming assignment. And I could write this assignment will assess basic calculations as well as writing functions in Python or something like that. Please write your answers in the space provided and do not modify cells. Okay, and then we'll write question one. Question one will be use Python to output. And the output's an important word as opposed to just displaying the solution. We want to output the solution. We'll write down the remainder when dividing 21 by 5. Okay, and so we could even write something like that is mathematically equivalent to, not equivalent, that is mathematically, we want 21 mod 5. Okay, oops. Forgot a dollar sign. Do I have an extra dollar sign? I do. Okay, we got there eventually. And so rendering that's what it looks like. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to write the assignment. And now by default, this can actually be changed if you wanted to, but by default, nbchkr uses this way of denoting where the solution will go. And so we can just write 21%5. And so what will happen in the notebook that's going to be created and distributed to the students is everything in between these two markers will be ignored. But also importantly, that's where we're going to be looking for what they put in. Okay. So if we run that, we indeed get 1. And now what we're going to do is we're going to write a check. Okay. And to write a check, we're going to go and import from nbchkr.checks. We're going to import, first of all, we're going to capture the answer. So the answer is going to be captured with an underscore. In Jupyter Notebooks, you can refer to the output of a previous cell with an underscore. We're going to write a string that we're going to display to students in their feedback. if what they've done isn't right. So we'll go something like your operation did not return an integer. All right. So note here that I'm checking only if the answer is an integer. Okay. And now the way notebook checkers, nbchkr checks work is that you can give any function to this check and it just has to return a Boolean. So this allows you to write quite sophisticated checks if you need to. So we're going to check a property check variable, define check variable is an integer. And so any property check can be any function as long as it has variable in the signature. It can have other variables as well, so you can write reusable checks that way. And we're going to return that the type of variable is an int. And now this is where we can use notebook checkers checker, and we can write check variable has expected property, right? And so this function is going to be our property check. So the first thing we need to pass is which variable are we checking for? So we're checking for I should write this down here. The variable string is the one that we've created, but we'll see in a bit how we could do something different to that. Okay, so variable string is this variable string. The feedback string is this feedback string, and then the property check is this. Okay. Now, if we run that, in our case, we see that that has worked. Okay. If, however, I outputted 5.8, then it would fail, saying your operation did not return an integer, and we get a notebook checker incorrect variable type error. Okay, so that's our first check. We've got that, and that's a good step. Something we also need to do is and let me make this a bit bigger. Something we also need to do is tag this particular cell. We also need to tag this cell. So the way we write tags is we go into the notebook tools, common tools, and we're going to change the tag. So the tag uses a regular expression, and it's going to say this is the answer to question 1. So answer and then the name of the question. Okay, so that's what that one's got. Now for a check, we need two tags. Okay, first is a score. So how much we want to give for this, we'll give it a score of 1, and we also can and should include a description. A description called integer answer. And this description will be used in the outputted data set. There's a data set that gets created when it marks a number of these, and also in the feedback that gets written. Okay. So that's it. That's our first check. So let's write another check for whether or not it's actually the right answer. So we'll write another feedback string, and we'll say the expected answer is 1 because 21 equals 5 times 3 plus 1. And now we'll write def check value is correct, and takes a variable. This is our property check function, and it just returns whether or not the variable is equal to 1. And now we can write this with a different check value is correct as our property check. And again, we get that. Note that it's still using the same thing that's in the namespace, Q1 answer, and stuff like that. Here we want to add, maybe that we'll score this as a 3. And we want to add another description, which is that we want the correct answer. Okay. So let's go ahead and write another question at this point. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's go ahead and write another question. I'm not entirely sure why it's not letting me do that. Let me go again. There we go. So we'll write question 2, and we can write a Python function, And we're going to be quite stern and say we want it to be get remainder m comma n that returns the remainder when dividing m by n. And we can write the same m mod n. I see that the autocomplete of dollar signs is trying to be helpful. Okay, and so we want to do something a bit more generic. And so now we'll write def get remainder m comma n. Note here that I'm not putting this bit in between the begin solution and solution part, because I want to specify that I'm going to have this already there for the students to answer. I'm going to go ahead and write, I need to have a doc string. This function returns the remainder of m when dividing by n, and we'll just return m percentage n. Okay. And so now this needs to have the tag answer to Q2. And now we're going to go ahead and have some checks, okay? And so the first thing I'm going to check is a check I always like to include, which is we want to make sure a function has a doc string. So we'll go ahead and write feedback string equals, and you could have a multi-line string here. You could write quite a lot of feedback. And if you look at the tutorial in the documentation, you'll see there's a long example there. This function does not include a doc string. And we could say write a lot more if you wanted to, okay? So now the variable string that we want to check is get remainder. So we want to make sure that this function exists, this variable, which is has value of function, and we're going to write def check function has doc string for the variable. And a way to do this in Python is to go return variable .doc is not none. And now we can use the nbchkr checks.check variable, check property, pardon me. Check variable has expected property, and the variable string is the variable string. The feedback string is this feedback string, and the property check is check function has a doc string. If we run that, we see that's how it worked. If I were to remove this, we'd see that it would have the nbchkr incorrect variable there. Note that if I shut down if I restart my kernel, so it forgets the variables that I've just created. Actually, it'll be a better way to do this, but and let's change that function. So let's go ahead and check everything. Now, students should have a reason to fix this. That should obviously be there. But let's say, okay, let me keep that the same, but let me change that. What if I was looking for this variable? Okay, and if there you get a different error, it's the variable does not exist, and the feedback is the variable get remainders does not exist. So it's one of the reasons to use the checks that are built into nbchkr, is it kind of handles stuff like that for you. And there we go. So now this check, we want to add a score for this. So we're going to go, this will just score 1, and then we want to add a description, which is presence of doc string. And this we need, that's the answer to question 2. We've already got that, and we've got this. So now let's go ahead and write whether or not we actually get the right answer. Feedback string equals your function does not give the correct values. And what I'm going to demo here is how you can write a property check that has more values. Okay, so we'll go def check function gives correct value, and it's going to take the variable. It's going to take m, n, and the expected value. And what we're going to do is we're going to return that variable of m and n equals expected value. So this is just one check that's going to let me just check a few different values, okay? And so what we do is we're going to, and nothing changes here except that now we want to change the actual property check we're using, which is check function gives correct value, and the extra keyword arguments we can pass here. So when m is equal to 5 and n is equal to 3, so when I divide 5 by 3, the expected value I hope to get should be 2. And we can write a few of these checks. You can go to your heart's content. We can go, what is 43 when you divide by 21? That's going to be 1. And then let's go for what is 1,000 when you divide by 10. Should be 0. And indeed, if any one of these fell over, we would get incorrect variable. Okay. Now, those are our checks. This is our assignment. Our assignment's essentially done. Oh, I haven't written my tags. Hold on. So we'll call this description correct answer, say, and let's give this a score of 3. Okay. So there we go. And now I've got this notebook, and this is saved, and I've got all my checks. I've got my solutions, and there we go. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is put this back low. I'm going to open up another terminal window here just so I can keep this this file running. And so I've got this. I should have done this before. There we go. Okay. So if I look in there, I've got that main.ipython notebook. And now what I want to do is release this IPython notebook. And so the way we do this is we write this call of nbchkr release. So we're releasing it. The source file is main.ipython notebook, and I want my output to be assignment.ipython notebook. Cool. It says solutions and checks removed from main. New notebook written to. And so if I go here, and if I go here, there's now this assignment.ipython notebook, and this is what I'd invite students to download and use and fill in their assignment. Okay. Let's say I wanted to write the solutions. So it's the same command, except it's solve. And if I go ahead and check, I'm going to call this solution.ipython notebook. Okay. Now if we go here, there's now solution. Okay, now let's say I have some students who've submitted some coursework. So, for example, there's 3 of them right there. And let me go ahead and make a new directory called submissions. And let me get those new ones that I've just downloaded. And just put them in this submissions directory. So if I go here, and I go to the submissions directory, we have those 3 assignments. So now let's say I want to solve these assignments. So the command to do this is not solved, but check. We still keep the sources the same one. And now we need to put it all towards where the submitted files are. And here you can use a regex, so you can use some sort of matching expression. And so I could say I want all the files that are in this submissions directory that are of the style of an IPython notebook file. I can say, what do I want my feedback suffix to be? So this is just going to create a new file with feedback for every student, and I'm just going to append feedback.md to it. And I also want to output to some data file. Cool. And so that's given us a fair few things. If I go to the submissions directory, there's now some more files in there. So for example, if I take a look at assignment 02 dash feedback, has some general things there. Full answers for whether or not question 1 had an integer answer, correct answer, question 2, whether or not there was the presence of a doc string, and whether or not there was the correct answer. And there's something like that in all of them. And the other thing that we have is if I open up this data.csv file, I believe is opening in a spreadsheet of some sort. It's got the name of every file. It's got the scores. It's got the maximum score available on the assessment, whether or not the tags match. So that's just a helpful thing that you might want to check if someone has modified the tags somehow in their notebook, right? And it could just be an indication that something went wrong. Students shouldn't really do it. You ask them not to, but it's just a helpful thing to be there. And then you've got for every question, whether or not they got the marks there. So that allows you to just analyze this data file and get some general feedback and quickly look about whether or not students found a particular problem easy or hard. Also it's captured how long it took to run the notebook. This might be helpful if someone's written something that takes way more long time than you expected or something like that. You can just come and take a look at it. In practice, what I often do is, just as if I was marking things, grading things, marking things by hand, as I'm seeing how students work, I might modify how I mark things. And so in the same way that I might take a look here and go like, you know what? Everyone got this answer wrong or something like that. And I might take a look at it and it might be indeed that indicates, something, or it might indicate that my check isn't quite subtle enough and I can modify that property check in a different way because students have found a different way than I expected to do it. So this data set is actually quite a helpful thing that comes out, and in practice, you can, as I say, use this for very large classes. So all this information is there. The tutorial is essentially what I've just worked through as a how-to guide for specific things. For example, what happens if a student submit something that's not a Jupyter notebook, even if it does have a .ipynb file extension and various things like that. If anyone was interested in contributing to nbchkr, by all means, I would very much welcome that. There's some guide on contributing there as well. I hope that's helpful. And if there's any features that are missing or things that you'd like to be seen done better in nbchkr, I'd very much welcome to hear them. Another thing that you might find interesting is to have a look at this section here. Why use nbchkr? So there's a couple of other tools available. There's nbgrader, which I'm aware of, and I've only recently been made of another one called, I think it's called AutoGrader. And so do take a look at those. nbgrader is a much more complete and almost course management system. nbchkr is meant to be this lightweight, almost script-like system that's built on using tags more than anything else. I hope that's helpful, and if you do use nbchkr, I would love to know about it.